Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraya Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 3, the birth of Lord Krishna, text 41 onwards. So yesterday we studied how Lord is telling his mother Devaki that you performed wonderful tapasya, so much of austerities, to have me as your son. So as Prishni and Suttapa, they performed austerities. So Lord agreed to become their son. Adrishtvanyatamam loke shilodhar gunah samam aham suto vam pavam prishni garbha iti shrutaha. Since I found no one else as highly elevated as you in simplicity and other qualities of good character, I appeared in this world as Prishni Garbha, or one who is celebrated as having taken birth from Prishni. In the Treta Yuga, the Lord appeared as Prishni Garbha. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Prishni Garbha iti so ayam Treta Yugavataro lakshate. So actually, if we remember, although it's been a long time since we discussed, it was during when Dhruv Maharaj was performing his tapasya, and the Lord appeared in front of him. That was Prishni Garbha. So he didn't have many pastimes or whatever I know of. He came and he blessed Dhruv Maharaj. Tayorvam punarevaham adityamas kashyapa tupendra iti vikhyato vaman atvach vamanaha. In the next millennium, I again appeared from the two of you who appeared as my mother, Aditi, and my father, Kashyap. I was known as Upendra, and because of being a dwarf, I was also known as Vaman. So second incarnation he took as their son. Prishni became Mother Aditi, and Sattapa became Kashyapani, and he took birth as Vaman there. Tritiyasmin bhave aham vai tena vapu shatvam jato bhuyastayoreva satyam me vyahritam sati. O supremely chaste mother, I, the same personality, have now appeared of you both as your son for the third time. Take my words as a truth. The Supreme Personality of Godhead chooses a mother and father from whom to take birth again and again. The Lord took birth originally from Suttapa and Prishni, and then from Kashyap and Aditi, and again from the same father and mother, Vasudeva and Devaki. In other appearances also, the Lord said, I took the form of an ordinary child just to become your son so that we could reciprocate eternal love. Jiva Goswami has explained this verse in his Krishna Sandarbha, 96th chapter, where he notes that in the text 37, the Lord says, Amuna Vapusha, meaning by this same form. In other words, the Lord told Devaki, this time I have appeared in my original form as Sri Krishna. So every word in every shloka has some deeper meaning. In text 37, Lord says, by this same form, means this time I appeared as Sri Krishna, original form. The other time, I appeared. Srila Jiva Goswami says that the other forms were partial expansions of the Lord's original form. But because of the intense love developed by Prishni and Suttapa, the Lord appeared from Devaki and Vasudeva in his full opulence as Sri Krishna. In this verse, the Lord confirms, I am the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, but I appear in full opulence as Sri Krishna. This is the purport of the words Tenev Vapusha. When the Lord mentioned the birth of Prishni Garbha, he did not say Tenev Vapusha, but he assured Devaki that in the third birth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, had appeared, not his partial expansion. Krishna Garva and Vaman were partial expansions of Krishna, but in this third birth, Krishna himself appeared. This is the explanation given in Shri Krishna Sandarbha by Srila Jiva Goswami. So Jiva Goswami has written 6 Sandarbhas besides others. I think he has written total 3 lakh verses somewhere I was studying. In different scriptures he wrote. So in Krishna Sandarbha, so he has written how Krishna appeared. Etadvam darshitam rupam pragjanma smaranaya me nanyatha madbhavam jnanam martya lingena jayate. I have shown you this form of Vishnu just to remind you of my previous births. Otherwise, if I appeared like an ordinary human child, you would not believe that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, has indeed appeared. So, see, this question people ask. See, Krishna, first he appeared as Vishnu form from Devaki, so that must be the original. And then he transformed himself into Krishna. But here, Krishna himself is clarifying it. I appeared in this form as Vishnu, 4-handed form. Why? Because if I had appeared just like a baby Krishna, you wouldn't have realized or you wouldn't have believed the Supreme Personality of Godhead has appeared in my house. Devaki did not need to be reminded that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, had appeared as a son. She already accepted this. Nonetheless, she was anxious, thinking that if her neighbors heard that Vishnu had appeared as a son, none of them would believe it. Therefore, she wanted Lord Vishnu to transform himself into a human child. On the other hand, the Supreme Lord was also anxious, thinking that if he appeared as an ordinary child, she would not believe that Lord Vishnu had appeared. Such are the dealings between the devotees and the Lord. The Lord deals with his devotees exactly like a human being. But this does not mean the Lord is one of the human beings, for this is the conclusion of the non-devotees. Devotees know the Supreme Personality of Godhead under any circumstances. This is the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. The Lord says, Mana mana bhav madabhakto madhyaji mam namaskar. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me and worship me. A non-devotee cannot believe that simply by thinking of a person, one can achieve liberation from this material world and go back home, back to Godhead. But this is a fact. The Lord comes as a human being, and if one becomes attached to the Lord on the platform of loving service, one's promotion to the transcendental world is assured. It's guaranteed. Krishna himself is giving the guarantee, and then the acharyas are giving the guarantee. Just like Krishna tells Arjuna in Bhagavad-Gita, Konteya prati jane, you declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Why? Because Lord always keeps the word of his devotees. He might deviate from his promises. Just like he promised in War of Mahabharata that I'll not pick up a weapon. But Bhishma made him pick up a weapon. But he never lets the devotee down. So if acharyas say something, a devotee says something, and Lord himself is saying here. So all we have to do is just think of him, become his devotee, offer obeisances unto him, worship him, and that's all. We'll go back home. So here, the Lord appeared as Vishnu form and then later transformed into a small baby, Krishna form. The Lord wanted that Mother Devaki and Vasudeva should be fearless now, that I have appeared, I'll take care of Kansa. And Devaki was, neighbors and the other people will say, oh, Lord Vishnu had appeared. Nobody will believe it. So she wanted just to be in wraps. And moreover, she wanted Kansa not to believe that Vishnu has appeared. Yuvam mam putra bhavena, brahma bhavena cha sakrit, chintayanto krit sneho, yasyete madgatim param. Both of you, husband and wife, should constantly think of me as your son, but always know that I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By thus thinking of me constantly with love and affection, you will achieve the highest perfection, returning home back to God. This instruction by the Supreme Personality of God to his father and mother, who are eternally connected with him, is especially intended for persons eager to return home back to God. One should never think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as an ordinary human being, as non-devotees do. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, personally appeared and left his instructions for the benefit of all human society. But fools and rascals unfortunately think of him as an ordinary human being and twist the instructions of the Bhagavad-Gita for the satisfaction of their senses. Practically everyone commenting on the Bhagavad-Gita interprets it for sense gratification. It has become especially fashionable for modern scholars and politicians to interpret the Bhagavad-Gita as if it was something fictitious. And by their wrong interpretations, they're spoiling their own careers and the careers of others. And careers means they're spoiling their own lives, actually. The Krishna consciousness movement, however, is fighting against this principle of regarding Krishna as a fictitious person and of accepting that there was no battle of Kurukshetra, that everything is symbolic and that nothing in the Bhagavad Gita is true. In any case, if one truly wants to be successful, one can do so by reading the text of Bhagavad Gita as it is. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu especially stressed the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, Jaradeka Taraka Krishna Upadesh. If one wants to achieve the highest success in life, one must accept the Bhagavad Gita as spoken by the Supreme Lord. By accepting the Bhagavad Gita in this way, all of human society can become perfect and happy. So this is the purpose of the Lord giving the instructions in Bhagavad Gita, just like he gave to his father and mother. They always think of myself as your son, but always know I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just think of me constantly with love and affection, and you'll just come back home, back to Godhead. That's all. So Devaki and Vasudeva doesn't need this instruction. They're always thinking the Lord appeared as a son, but these instructions are for us. So the purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to give us, to stress on these instructions. So we understand who do we have to think of, what do we have to do in our lives. It is to be noted that because Devaki and Vasudeva would be separated from Krishna, when he was carried to Gokul, the residence of Nanda Maharaj, the Lord personally instructed them they should always think of him as his son and as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That would keep them in touch with him. After 11 years, the Lord would return to Mathura to be their son, and therefore there was no question of separation. Now, sometimes people ask, why didn't Krishna kill Kansa right away? Well, it was not the time, I guess. The Lord has to decide. And moreover, some places it is said the Vasudeva and Devaki, they still had some more tapasya to do. And Lord himself wanted to go to Vrindavan to be with Nanda Baba and Yashoda Maya and the Brajvasis. So the whole thing, they just come together. Shri Shukuvacha, iti uktva siddharistushnim bhagwan atma mayaya pitru sampashyato sadhyo babhu prakritah shishuhu. Shukdev Goswami said, after this instructing his father and mother, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, remained silent. In their presence, by his internal energy, he then transformed himself into a small human child. In other words, he transformed himself into his original form, Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. So that was his original form. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. Whatever is done by the Supreme Personality of Godhead is done by his spiritual energy. Nothing is forced upon him by material energy. This is the difference between the Lord and an ordinary living being. It's natural for the Lord to be untinged by material qualities, and because everything is perfectly present in his spiritual energy, as soon as he desires something, it is immediately done. The Lord is not a Prakrit Shishu, a child of this world, but by his personal energy he appeared like one. Ordinary people may have difficulty accepting the supreme controller God as a human being because they forget that he can do everything by spiritual energy. So it is said, Bhagwan Atma Mayaya, Atma Maya, by his spiritual energy he transforms, not by material energy. Srila Jiva Goswami says that unless we accept the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as inconceivable, beyond the conception of our words and mind, we cannot understand the Supreme Lord. Those who doubt that the Supreme Personality of Godhead can come as a human being and turn himself into a human child are fools who think that Krishna's body is material, that he is born and he therefore also dies. His body is not at all material, he is spiritual. Everything is spiritual. Satchidananda Vigraha. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 4th chapter, there is a description of Krishna's leaving his body. Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Shukdev Goswami, when all the members of the Yadu dynasty met their end, Krishna also put an end to himself, and the only member of the family who remained alive was Uddhav. How was this possible? Shukdev Goswami answered that Krishna, by his own energy, destroyed the entire family and then thought of making his own body disappear. In this connection, Shukdev Goswami described how the Lord gave up his body. But this was not the destruction of Krishna's body. Rather, it was disappearance of the Supreme Lord by his personal energy. So he did not leave his body. There is no difference between inside and outside of Krishna's soul or Krishna's body. It's all one. Everything is same. There is a message making rounds on WhatsApp and Facebook that what happened when Krishna left his body. So the soul was left and the soul was transferred into Lord Jagannath's body, and this is a soul that is transferred every time Lord Jagannath gets new body. No. Yes or no? First of all, Krishna did not leave anything behind. He himself just disappeared, unmanifested his pastimes. But the soul in Lord Jagannath's form, that is different. Whenever this Navkalevar happens in Jagannath Puri, they make the new form, and from the Nabhi of old Lord Jagannath and Balram and Subhadra, Nabhi, it's called Nabhi Brahm. So there is a small potali there in his Nabhi, and they transfer from the old form of Lord Jagannath to the new form, new Vapu. And according to what we have studied and heard, it's a Shaligram Shila in its Nabhi. Shaligram Shila lapped with lots of cloths and some chandan and tulsi they keep inside, and other things, whatever according to their scriptures. And it generally happens after 19 years, this transfer. So Navkalevar. And it is said that even after 19 years, when they take out this Navi Brahm, the Tulsi is fresh, which they left 19 years ago. So that's different pastime of Lord Jagannath, but it's not that was a soul left by Krishna. Prabhupada further says, actually the Lord does not give up his body, which is eternal, but as he can change his body from the form of Vishnu to that of an ordinary human child, he can change his body to any form he likes. This does not mean that he gives up his body. By spiritual energy, the Lord can appear in a body made of wood or stone. He can change his body into everything because everything is his energy. As clearly said in Bhagavad-Gita, Bhinna Prakriti Rashtata. Material elements are separated energies of the Supreme Lord. When he transforms himself into the Archa Murti, the worshipable deity, which we see as stone or wood, he is still Krishna. Therefore, the Shastra warns Archa Vishnu Shiladher, one who thinks that the worshipable deity in the temple is made of stone or wood. One who sees a Vaishnava Guru as an ordinary human being, or one who materially conceives of a Vaishnava as belonging to a particular caste, is Naraki, a resident of hell. The Supreme Personality of Godhead can appear before us in many forms as He likes, but we must know the true facts by following the instructions of Sadhu, Guru, and Shastra, the saintly person, spiritual master, and the authoritative scriptures. One can understand Krishna, and then one makes his life successful by returning home back to Godhead. So we have to understand everything in truth properly. Tata shorir bhagvat prachoditah suttam samadaya sasutika griha yada vair ganpam yesh tarhi ajaha ya yoga maya jani nanda jayaya. Thereafter, exactly when Vasudeva, being inspired by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was about to take the newborn child from the delivery room, Yogamaya, the Lord's spiritual energy, took birth as a daughter of the wife of Maharaj Nanda. So at that time, Yogamaya took birth over there in Gokul. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur discusses that Krishna appeared simultaneously as the son of Devaki and as the son of Yashoda, along with the spiritual energy, Yogamaya. As a son of Devaki, he first appeared as Vishnu, and because Vasudeva was not in the position of pure affection for Krishna, Vasudeva worshipped his son as Lord Vishnu. Yashoda, however, pleased her son, Krishna, without understanding his Godhead. This is a difference between Krishna as a son of Yashoda and as a son of Devaki. This is explained by Vishwanath Chakravarti on the authority of Harivansha. So Yogamaya took birth, and Krishna also took birth at the house of Yashoda. Teya hrit pratyaya sarva vrittishu dvastheshu poreshvapi shayiteshvatha dvarascha sarva pihita duratyaya brihat kapataya sakila shrinkala ta Krishna vahe vasudevagate swayam vyavaryant yatha tamoravehe vavarsha parjanya upanshu garjitah sheshu anva gadwari nivarayan phanahe. By the influence of Yogamaya, all the doorkeepers fell fast asleep, their senses unable to move, and the other inhabitants of the house also fell deeply asleep. When the sun rises, the darkness automatically disappears. Similarly, when Vasudeva appeared, the closed doors, which were strongly pinned with iron and locked with iron chains, opened automatically. Since the clouds in the sky were mildly thundering and showering, Anantanag and an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead followed Vasudeva, beginning from the door with hoods expanded to protect Vasudeva and the transcendental child. So, as we can see in the picture in the background, Sheshnag is an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose business is to serve the Lord with all necessary paraphernalia. When Vasudeva was carrying the child, Sheshnag came to serve the Lord and protect him from the mild showers of rain. So this is what Acharyas have also explained. When Vasudevji picked up Krishna, all his shackles opened up, doors opened, doorkeepers, they all fell asleep. So this is what happens when we have Krishna in our heart, or when we are chanting his holy name, then Maya cannot have his shackles on us. We are free, we are liberated. This is shown by Vasudevji. And when he comes back, leaving Krishna at Gokul, then all the shackles will again bind him. Maghoni varshati sakridyam manuja gambhir toyo ghajvor mir fe nila bhayana kavarta shatakula nadi margam dado sindhureo shriyapate. Because of constant rain sent by the demigod Indra, the river Yamuna was filled with deep water, foaming about with fiercely whirling waves. But as a great Indian Ocean had formerly given way to Lord Ramchandra by allowing him to construct a bridge, the river Yamuna gave way to Vasudeva and allowed him to cross. So why was Indra sending so much of rain? So that in the path to Yamuna from the prison house of Kansa, nobody would be there, not even dogs. They would all be clean. And people, if they were sleeping outside, they would go inside and sleep, so that nobody would see what is happening. And as we can see from this background, Anantashesh, he was behind Vasudevji, so that Vasudevji don't get scared by looking, oh, such a big snake is following me, what is happening? So he was falling behind and protecting Vasudevji and Krishna from rain. So Yamuna gave way to Vasudeva and allowed him to cross. Nanda vrajam shore rupete tatratan gopana prasuttanu labhya nidreya sutam yashoda shayane nidhaya tata sutam upadaya punargrihanaga. When Vasudeva reached the house of Nanda Maharaj, he saw that all the cowherd men were fast asleep. Thus he placed his own son on the bed of Yashoda, picked up her daughter, an expansion of Yogmaya, and then returned to his residence, the prison house of Kansa. Vasudeva knew very well that as soon as the daughter was in the prison house of Kansa, Kansa would immediately kill her. But to protect his own child, he had to kill the child of his friend Nanda. Nanda Maharaj was his friend, but out of deep affection and attachment for his own son, he knowingly did this. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that one cannot be blamed for protecting one's own child at the sacrifice of another's. Furthermore, Vasudeva cannot be accused of callousness since his actions were impelled by the force of Yogamaya. And this is what Krishna himself wanted. So sometimes people say, oh, he protected his son and got the daughter of Nanda Maharaj killed. What kind of person he is? But this is what the Lord wanted. So he just did it. But he did not see the other baby who was born there was Krishna, Shyam Sundar or Yashoda Nandan Krishna. And when he took Vasudeva Krishna, this Vasudeva Krishna merged in the body of Yashoda Nandan Krishna. Devakya Shayanenasya Vasudevo Attarikam Pratimutya Pador Loham Aste Puru Vadavrita. Vasudeva placed the female child on the bed of Devaki, bound his legs with the iron shackles, and thus remained there as before. Yashodananda Patni Cha Jatam Param Abudhyat Natalingam Parishranta Nidrya Apagat Smriti. Exhausted by the labor of childbirth, Yashoda was overwhelmed with sleep and unable to understand what kind of child had been born to her. So childbirth, and because Yashoda and Nand Baba, they didn't have any child before, and it was long time. They did lots of tapasya also, or pujas to have a child. So when Krishna was born, she was exhausted, and also at that time there was plenty of rain coming, so the whole atmosphere was tiring. So she didn't even know what was born. Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva were intimate friends, and so were their wives, Yashoda and Devaki. Although their names were different, they were practically non-different personalities. The only difference is that Devaki was able to understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead had been born to her and had now changed into Krishna, whereas Yashoda was not able to understand what kind of child had been born to her. Yashoda was such an advanced devotee that she never regarded Krishna as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, but simply loved him as her own child. Devaki, however, knew from the very beginning that although Krishna was her son, he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Vrindavan, no one regarded Krishna as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. When something very wonderful happened because of Krishna's activities, the inhabitants of Vrindavan Means the cowherd men, the cowherd boys, and the Maharaj, Yashoda, and others were surprised, but never considered their son Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of God. Sometimes they suggested that some great demigod had appeared there as Krishna. In such an exalted status of devotional service, a devotee forgets the position of Krishna and intensely loves the Supreme Personality of Godhead without understanding his position. This is called Kevala Bhakti and is distinct from the stages of Gyan and Jnanamai Bhakti. But we do our tapasya, our sadhana, our devotional service, understanding he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead till our Siddha Swarup is revealed to us. So we continue. And then we continue, carry on with lots of love and devotion. But the bhakti carries on. So I know I'm little over time, but just a little, another pastime. Here it is said, Nanda Baba, Yashoda Maya, and others in Vrindavan, they never considered Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. So after this Govardhan Leela, when Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill for 7 days and 7 nights, and so many things happened. So after that, there was a meeting in Nandagaon between Nanda Maharaj and other cowherd boys. And they were thinking, this Krishna cannot be an ordinary child. He does so many wonderful things. It must be that he must be the Supreme Personality of God. He must be Narayan himself. There's no way anybody can lift up Govardhan, and he has killed so many asuras, so many demons, and this, and he does perform wonderful pastimes. He must be the Supreme Lord. So while talking, they were having this meeting, and they were talking and talking. Then somebody said, him and God? Krishna is God. He cannot be God. Have you seen God lying to anybody? Have you even heard of any scripture says God lies? And this guy, he can never tell the truth. He's always lying. You ask him, Gopis ask him, have you eaten makhan? He says, no, I never eaten makhan. But his mouth is full of makhan. He goes and steals butter. How can he be God? And God, if he's so powerful, and Nand Baba was saying that you think he's God? As soon as there is thunder in the sky and this rain, he runs and he hides in the godi of Mother Yashoda. How can he be God? And this is how they were talking about different pastimes of Krishna, and they were laughing, and he cannot be God, and they were laughing, and they all forget what the discussion was about. This is how Yogamaya works. Even if they want to think he's God, the Yogamaya makes them forget, because there's so much of love in Vrindavan for Krishna and his pastimes. He cannot be God. So anyway, this ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 10th canto, 3rd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Birth of Lord Krishna. Sunanda ke Ananda Bhayo, Jai Kanaya Lal. So tomorrow we'll start the next chapter, the atrocities of King Kansa. So we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you said that Sham Sundar Krishna merged with Yashodanandan Krishna, something like that.
Vasudev Krishna merged in Yashodanandan Krishna.
What that means, bro?
See, Krishna appeared at the same time in Gokul and Mathura. In Gokul from the womb of Yashoda, and in Mathura from the womb of Devaki. So when Vasudevji brought this Krishna behind me in the backdrop from Mathura to Gokul, so there were 2 babies. One was Yashodanandan Krishna and one was Yogamaya. So this Vasudev Krishna, he merged into Yashodanandan Krishna. So Vasudevji also did not see 2 babies there. So he thought he left his Krishna and he brought back this girl. So this is why when Akrura comes from Mathura to bring Krishna Balram to Mathura, So when Krishna and Balram entered Yamuna water to take bath in Yamuna, so Shyam Sundar, Yashodanandan Krishna stays back, and Vasudev Krishna comes out and goes with Akrurji. Because Krishna never leaves Vrindavan.
Yes, Prabhuji. I heard one Maharaj saying like Devi Yashoda is the actual mother of Krishna. So I was little confused by listening this. So instead of biological kind in the sense, but Maharaj said like Yashoda is the biological mother of Krishna, and he was explaining further. So I think this is the same point, isn't it?
Yeah, because Krishna as Shyam Sundar or Yashodanandan Krishna, that's the origin Krishna. That's in Vrindavan. So in Mathura, it's Vasudev Krishna. The mood of Vasudev Krishna is different from Yashodanandan Krishna. It's the same Krishna.
Yes.
And similarly, Balramji also. Originally, Balramji is son of Rohini, not son of Devaki. But here we studied Devaki's womb was transferred to Rohini. But this is Sankarshan. So when Akrurji comes, original Balramji stays back in Vrindavan, but Sankarshan comes out. And now Yashodanandan Krishna and Balramji in Vrindavan, but they unmanifest. They are not there as Krishna and Balram to perform pastime because they have to be in separation from Radharani and other gopis. So those pastimes also go on, but they are always there in Vrindavan.
Yeah, Prabhuji, these all concepts like these two concepts are given by Prabhupada or by Acharyas?
They're in different scriptures.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Just like not here in this chapter, but later on in one chapter, I forgot which one, fourth or fifth chapter, it is mentioned that Yogamaya, or that baby girl that Vasudevji brought, in that shloka it is said she is Anuja. So Anuja means younger sister. So if there is no elder brother, she cannot be the younger sister. So the brother must have been born. That's why shloka says Anuja. So that's why, I mean, of course, I'm not that scholar of Sanskrit, but once you hear it and read here and there, then you figure out, yes, it all makes sense. It's all there in Bhagavatam. It's just we have to see it properly.
Yes, Prabhuji. Braj Leela ki jai.
Jai. Okay, so you all have a safe and great day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri.
Hare Krishna.